Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a map of your raster in QGIS, and then we're going to export it into a PDF and take a look. If you're interested in learning more about different spatial data science tools and how to work with GIS data, I create videos on this topic every single week. This is a very introductory video, so don't worry about needing to know QGIS very well. All you need is QGIS downloaded and we can get started. Okay, so I have QGIS open here. I just opened the tool. We're going to click New Empty Project and create this blank window. And keep in mind that your window might look slightly different from mine because I've changed the locations of some of my windows, but all the buttons should be pretty much the same. So we have a blank window. Let's add a blank map. I'm going to move into the browser window. You'll see two windows, Layers and Browser. So click on Browser and you'll see X, Y, Z tiles. So in there, you're going to see a bunch of options basically of maps that you can use. You may not have the Google Maps because I added those ones after I downloaded the tool, but you should have OpenStreetMap. So let's drag that into our workspace. And now we have a map of the world, basically, an OpenStreetMap of the world. So the next thing we need to do is actually add our raster data. So let's go back to Layers. And what we're going to do is just grab our file of our raster and then drag it into this window. So I'm going to pull open my window. So I have a series of rasters saved here. I'm going to take my raster, mine is called myrast.tiff, and I'm going to drag it into my QGIS project. So it's very simple. You take the file and you drag it, and then it should plot. If it has a coordinate reference system saved and it's a regular grid, you shouldn't have any issues dragging into the window. So there's my map. Now it's actually quite ugly. It needs some coloring, or we need to change the symbology. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to click on the layer. We're going to right click and click Styles, or actually we're going to click Properties. And then we're going to go into Symbology, the Symbology tab. So now that we're in the tab, let's change the render type to single band pseudocolor, which is typically what I use for rasters. And then you can go ahead and click on the color ramp and click whatever color scheme you want. I'm okay with the white to red. And my interpolation setting is set to linear right now because it's a continuous raster, a continuous data set. I'm going to click Apply. And you can see it looks a little bit better. I want some context on which areas I'm looking at here. Like I want to know where this hotspot is. So I'm going to actually go back, click Properties again, and then I'm going to go into the Transparency tab, and I'm going to make it a little bit transparent. So you'll see the global opacity toggle here. I'm going to set it to 70%. Click OK. And I like that a little bit better because you can see which area in the world you're looking at. So this hotspot is actually over New York City. And this is an air pollution data set, so that makes sense, unfortunately. So we have that. Now we can go ahead and create our map. So once you're happy with your color scheme and the way everything looks, we can go ahead and create the map. So I'm going to click Project, New Print Layout. And this is where you name your map to be. So I'm going to call mine Sample Map, and then you click OK. So we have an empty blank map here, and now we can add all of our map elements for the raster. The first thing I'm going to do is add the raster map. So to do that, we're going to click on this button here. It looks like a white sheet of paper that's slightly bent, and when you hover over it, it'll say Add Map. So let's click on that. And this is where you select the area of your actual map, not the legend, not the title, just the box that will contain your map. So I'm going to put it on the left-hand side of the page, and it'll render the map right away. You'll notice that it's hovering directly over New York City, which matches the area of my viewing pane. If I zoom out a little bit, it won't update automatically. If you want to have the map match what you have in your QGIS window, what you need to do is go over to, let me move my picture over here. You need to go into your items tab where you have control over all of your map elements. So you'll see that all we have in our map window is a single map. And I'm going to make sure that's highlighted, and then it'll open up a layout, item properties, and guide tab. We're going to go into the item properties tab, and we're going to click this first button, which if you hover over it, it says set map extent to match main canvas extent. And essentially all that means is that the window that you have in your map will always match what you have in your QGIS window. So I'm going to click that, and then you'll see that it's zoomed out again, because if we go back to our QGIS window, I zoomed out. But I actually want to stay over New York City because I think it's an interesting data point. So I zoomed back into New York City. I'm going to click on that button again, and you'll see that it zooms right back over New York City. So that's a good view for me. I'm pretty happy with that. And let's add some more map elements. Okay, so this is the map. Obviously, we need a legend so that people know what they're looking at. We're going to go ahead and click Add Item in the top left-hand menu. And it's very simple. We're going to click Add Legend. You'll see that the mouse, the cursor of the mouse changes. This basically allows you to pick where you want the legend to be. I'm going to make it very simple and just paste it right there. And it automatically adds a legend. Right now, I'm not entirely happy with how this legend looks, so I'm going to change some of the properties here. So this is a single band raster. It's not a multi-band raster, so it only has one layer, and I don't really want there to be a separate value that says band 1, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to get rid of that. I don't really like that. So we're going to click Item Properties, and then we're going to go down to Legend Items. And this is where you have control over what you're seeing in the legend. So again, I don't really want this band 1 label. I just don't think it's necessary for a single band raster. You might disagree, that's completely fine. So right now, the legend is auto updating. I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to click band 1 and then click the minus button just below the legend items. And you'll see that it gets rid of it. So now we just have the title, we have the min and max, and then we have OpenStreetMap because we have OpenStreetMap in our map. I'm also going to change the title of the raster because MyRas doesn't really make any sense. So let's go ahead and double click MyRas. And I'm going to just say air pollution concentration short form. And I'm just going to say micrograms per meter cubed. So that's that. I also want to add a title that says legend so that it's very clear that this box here represents the legend. So I'm going to go back into item properties and then click on main properties. So you should have a section that says main properties, and then I'm going to add a title. I'm just going to call the title legend, keep it very simple. And yeah, it's a very simple legend because we only have one layer. You'll see that I have quite a few decimal places in my air pollution values. If you want to change that, we can do that very simply. You go back to your main QGIS window. So let's do that. And then what you do is you go back to the Properties tab, and then we'll go to Symbology. And I'm going to change the min and max value for my raster. So I'm going to set it to 0 and 32. I'm going to click Apply and then click OK. So now when we switch back to our map window, you'll see that it's 0 to 32, which I'm a lot happier with. So we have a legend, we have our map, we need a few more map elements. So I'm going to add a scale bar. So let's go back to Add Item. And we're going to click Add Scale Bar. And I'm just going to put it in the bottom right-hand corner. I click the map area, it pops up a position and size. I'm going to keep the default values, click OK. And then I'm just going to position it in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. I also want a north arrow, so let's add item again. We're going to add north arrow, and then I'm going to put it maybe on the other side of my map. OK. And you can change the north arrow. It'll open up a bunch of options for the north arrow in your map. So if you click on north arrow and then you click on item properties, you'll see lots of different symbols, and you can play around with your north arrow if you'd like. I'm just going to keep mine very simple, just a very simple north arrow. And I'll put it in the bottom left-hand corner, and I'm just going to resize it. I'll make it quite small. Okay. The next thing I want to add is a title for my map. So add item, add label, and then I'm just going to put a title here, and it'll open up, again, another text window here. So I'm going to say map of air pollution. This is not the best title, it's not very descriptive, but this is just an example. So we have map of air pollution. It's quite small for a title. So if you scroll down under item properties again, and you see appearance, under the appearance tab, you'll see a button that says font. So click on font, and you'll see the font type right here if you want to change that. I'm going to keep the font as is, and I'm going to change the size. So I'm going to change the size to 50, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to click out of there and then just make this a little bit more centered. So we have a title. If you want, you can also add a border around the map, so just like a box basically. So if you want to do that, we click on our air pollution map, so map 1, and then you can click on item properties and then click the frame button, which will be under item properties, and it automatically adds a border for you. If you don't like it, you can change it, but I'm pretty okay with that. So frame, oops, let's make sure we're clicking on the right one. So frame, and then you can make it thicker if you'd like, but I'm okay with this, but I'll show you what it looks like. You can make it as thick as you'd like. I'm going to go back to the default, and that's a simple way to add a border. We can also add labels on the map itself to provide some context on which area we're looking at. So we know we're looking at New York City. So what we can do is click add item, add marker, and then click on the area that you want to mark out. I'm going to put it right over here. And I'm going to change the symbol because the red circle kind of matches the red color of the raster. So I'm going to click on symbol, which again will be under item properties. And you can essentially pick whichever symbol you want. The symbol will be under symbol settings. Oops. So I'm going to make it a little star. And then I'm going to change the color. So the color will be in the same section, symbol settings under item properties. So let's change that to green, and I'm going to change the background to green as well. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we have a marker, but what does the marker mean? I'm going to add a label that says New York City. So add item, add label, and I'm just going to make it say New York City. And as usual, it'll be under item properties for that property. So let's move that out of there, and I'll move it a bit closer to the actual marker. So, okay, that's my simple map of air pollution. Let's export it to PDF. So what we can do is click Layout, Export as PDF. Close that. When you click Export to PDF, it'll open up a file window, and you can pretty much save it wherever you want. I'm just going to save it in a random folder, and I'm going to call it sample map 2, and then save. It'll open up some PDF export options. I always keep the default options because it just works out typically, and then I'll click save. Okay, and that's it. So let's take a look at the PDF. So here's the PDF that I just made. Let's click it, and there is our map. It's a very simple map, but you can obviously change whatever settings and elements you like. I hope it works out, and if you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.